Hey guys, Grim here, and today we will do overview of the Sorceress, who is often considered to be the best character to start the game. Sorceress is the only character who has built-in teleport that allows her to quickly reach various locations, bosses, and find passages. She can also build large amounts of magic find stat fairly easy and at the same time be able to farm bosses. No other character can do this with the same efficiency at the start of the game. However, sorcerers have some disadvantages too, the most serious of which is a small amount of health relative to other characters, as well as a strong dependence on the school of spells that she uses. Because starting from the nightmare difficulty, you will encounter a lot of monsters with immunity to either fire, lightning, or cold, so it is recommended to level up a hybrid sorceress proficient in 2 elements at a time. Let's talk about the basic spells of this class. There are spells that are used by any sorceress regardless of the build. Teleport, Telekinesis, and the Static Field. Teleport is the ability that allows sorcerers to be so efficient. No other class has the ability to move around as fast. Telekinesis is used for several things. First of all, it allows you to pick up the loot remotely. Secondly, it allows you to remotely activate various portals and waypoints. In case of using telekinesis on enemies, the enemy gets pushed back, and thus you can control the distance in order to push away melee monsters. But such a use of telekinesis is extremely rare. It is mainly used for remote activation and picking up items. Static Field is a very useful ability. It removes a portion of current health from all opponents in range. But it also has its limitations. On normal difficulty you can reduce your opponent's health to almost zero, on nightmare to up to 20%, and at hell difficulty up to 50%. After the health is reduced, you can use the other abilities to finish enemies. Most often Static Field is used on bosses or monsters with a lot of health, because it greatly speeds up the process of farming them. Another ability used by most sorcerers is the Frozen Armor. The ability increases your defense and have a chance to freeze the monsters who attack you in melee. And in fire skills you can also find one ability used by most sorceresses. It's called Warmth, and it increases the rate of replenishment of your mana. In most cases you should only put 1 point into all of these abilities. Now let's talk about builds. Cold Sorceress usually uses Blizzard and Night Blast skills. Blizzard is a skill that has cooldown. After using it, you need to wait some time in order to use it again. And Ice Blast can be used with no limits. Cast speed will only depend on your faster cast rate parameter. The Frost skills branch also uses the Frozen Orb ability in some builds of hybrid sorceresses alongside of one of fire skills. The passive skill called Mastery in this tree is also used by all cold sorceresses. It greatly reduces the cold resistance of the monsters you attack. Please note that you will not be able to indefinitely reduce the resistance of monsters, and at hell difficulty the maximum level that you will need in order to efficiently kill monsters is 23. There is no point in leveling Cold Mastery above level 23, except when you want to farm Bale on hell difficulty. In this case it makes sense to level it up to 26. Next up we have Lightning Sorceress. In Lightning tab almost all spells are useful. But the main attack spells here are Lightning and Chain Lightning. Lightning goes in a straight line and passes through the mobs. And Chain Lightning jumps from enemy to enemy. You cannot control where this lightning will jump and who it will hit. Also it doesn't pierce through enemies. Some builds also use Nova spell to attack mobs. It is also a very effective spell with the crowd control in the form of stun. It allows sorcerers to jump into big packs of monsters without taking much damage. However, builds based on Nova spell are rather specific and not recommended for new players. Lightning Mastery is also leveled here, but unlike cold spells, this ability increases all damage inflicted by lightning spells without reducing the mob's resistance. Lightning spells also have one interesting ability called Energy Shield. It absorbs incoming damage, making it mana damage. Basically, monsters burn your mana instead of doing damage to your health. This shield is most often used in PvP battles or hardcore play. In standard games, this ability is rarely used. And the last spell school is Fire. Here we have 3 main damage dealing abilities. The first skill is the Fireball, the main spammy ability. Second skill is Fire Wall. It causes huge damage to all enemies who are standing within the wall. And the third skill is the Meteor, who deals even more impressive damage, but has a delay before falling on the enemy. All three can be used in fire or hybrid builds, and the use comes down to personal preference. There is also an Enchant spell here. It can be used to strengthen your allies if you play in party or you're mercenary, but again in solo play on softcore this spell is rarely used. As we mentioned earlier, sorcerers who use only one elemental school can have a hard time progressing through the game past normal difficulty, because at Nightmare and especially at Hell difficulties there are numerous monsters with immunities to either cold, lightning or fire damage. So for playthrough, players usually opt into hybrid builds with cold and fire. The lightning tree requires a lot of skill points to be effective, so it's rarely combined with others. Therefore, the main attack skills for hybrid sorcerers will be Frozen Orb from Cold Tree and one spelled from Fire Tree, either Fireball, Firewall or the Meteor. You can try all of those to see which one suits your playstyle the best. That's it for this video, thank you for watching and see you next time.